I just made a video, and in that video it's just a massive ramble, and yeah, stuff I learned through being dragged through aimlessness and depression. Of course, I need to internalize this as soon as possible. That I haven't actually, like, in the sense of like, just because I've been trying to get out of the mud doesn't mean I'm out of the mud, and it also doesn't mean that I'm not really covered in mud when I get out. So, you know, but I was reading through Ecclesiastes trying to find something for the video, and it was like a specific quote, and I ended up just thinking, firstly, when I was reading the beginning, right, there's all these things that are usually bits like me, and I'm assuming most people would just skip over. Like, we sort of just read it like we're reading a story. Like, you know, when you're sitting there watching Netflix and you're just blindly consuming, you're not internalizing, you're not looking at that shot of a tree and going, just looking at the shadow. But the difference is there's so much that, in fact, the sight isn't as much the focus. Therefore, there's not going to be as much tailored in a movie. And that might seem like wrong, but I mean, because obviously you're watching it with your eyes, so it's going to be tailored for the eyes. In that way, yes, but I mean in the sense of there's going to be less attention to detail because there's more being shown to the eyes. So you're going to have like 1,000 things on the screen, but you might have like a word on a page, or just sets of words, lines, or complex settings, and you know. So how they're conveyed, well, it's important. In a book, they're conveyed via words. So everything is conveyed via words, and that's why reading's better than watching stuff. So I read, I think it was, I'm going to read the big, because it's really close to the beginning. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem, Solomon. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. You see, I read that, and in my mind it was sort of just like, a generation goes and a generation comes. Okay, next line, but then the thought also, the thinking stops. Like, because we can't keep up and think every single thought that has to be thought about a single verse when reading it out or listening to someone reading it. So, or even hearing it in church. But I read, vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Internalize that. But this is what they used to say in English lit. I never used to listen. But this is what you got to do. Vanity of vanities. Why wouldn't you just? I mean, you got to also consider linguistic style in it. Like, literature's sort of like, in songs you have like lyrical style, so you have it just, oh, well, I put that word there because it rhymes with this. See what I'm saying? Like, no, the flow of this was quite nice. That sounded quite cool. Yeah. So, vanity of vanities could be like that, but you know, it's whatever it's, first of all, why is it the start? Like, when he was writing this, and we can tell he compiled it, like, okay, let's compile Hello Wisdom, because, hang on, it's not even, it's saying pages 12. It's that thick. This is Ecclesiastes, the entirety of Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, right here. This is it. All of it. Start here to finish here. Now, compare this with, sorry, I'm trying, let's do this one-handed. It's this much of the Bible is Ecclesiastes. Right, so we know, okay, that because of foreknowing the amazing amount of wisdom and the style of Solomon, in the sense of like Proverbs, you know, short, quick bits and that, and so on. This is sort of the same style, not in the same exact style, but I mean, like, it's sort of got that same right. Knowing the writer's intent is always really important, and then knowing the writer's style and how they think and write is also very important. So, and also I was going to say Proverbs. I mean, think about that. That the intent of that was to be like that, so it could be something that's not necessarily inherent to the writer, but it could be that they wrote something like that because their style is inherent to that way of writing. Don't know. Anyway, I'm just gonna go down to where it is. It's literally. So, what is man gain by all the toil which he toils under the sun? Generation goes, and the generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, and the sun goes down, and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south, and goes round to the north. Round and round goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. He makes reference to the wind a lot more than, well, in the rest of the story, he makes use of the wind, especially the phrase chasing after wind, or chasing after the wind. And so he's setting it up there. And this is like so we got to try and understand this, because we understand that he's written this here so that when he makes reference to the wind, the presupposed attributes of the wind are known by the reader. And so the wind blows to the south, right? The reason he says the wind blows to the south and goes on to the north is, first, it gives us a visual picture in our head. Sort of, it allows us to build that picture in our head, but also tells us, like, goes there, then it goes there, right? And then round and round it goes. So it goes there, it goes there, and it goes, maybe it goes there, maybe it goes there, you know? So it goes places, but ultimately, on its circuits, the wind returns. So it's essentially stating that it goes so many places. It goes to the north, it goes to the south, it might go to the east, it might go to the west, but it returns. It actually makes no progress. Now, one would then question, is there a point if it's not ending up at a different place? But I'd argue that it also is, because it's going to these different places. Okay, but ultimately it returns, not inherently so that it can go around. It's not doing it, but it's not like going exactly there so it can come all the way back. No, but when it returns, it's gonna go back around. So essentially, we can say, therefore, because it's gonna happen, it's returning. So with the intent to essentially just go and do all that again, just circles, circles, circles. And so when he says stuff like, when I said to myself, I've acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I applied my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is but a striving after wind. That's the one, striving after wind. So he seeks to, like, be wise, or in fact, as I said in the last video, I kind of wanted to avoid repeating it, but as I said in the last video, he exalts himself in the sense of, like, saying, "Oh, I'm more wise than anyone." anyone in Jerusalem that's ever been sort of, that's the sort of internal condition at which he's in. So like, under this pride, under this precondition, in a sense, because it's like something that you're acting from. It's a position of pride that you're acting accordingly, because your decisions are made by your ego. Like, your risk taking, you're going to take more risks if you're more prideful, because your view of yourself is up here. And we know it's bad because then it leads to miscalculation. If the first bit of data is off, everything else is going to be off. Okay, so he then says that this is striving after wind, because in doing this, he went from here to here to here, then he went maybe here and then here, but and then he came back around. He ended up back around. I mean, what did he gain? He might have done all these things, but doing all these things, he might have just found out to himself, I am wise. I am more wise than anyone in Jerusalem. He might have then thought, okay, let's increase that wisdom, but then he goes around doing these, and he doesn't make any progress, in that he doesn't gain, because he returns to the same point of, wow, I'm wiser than anyone, because he's, you know what I mean, he's making reference to the wind, he's going round and round and round, he's just returning, he's going in circles. So he noticed, he understood and noticed that this is like, this is striving after the wind, in a sense. It's striving after, and we know that he's literally saying this because the wind, he says the wind does that, and so you're just chasing the wind, and so you're going to follow the path of the wind, the footsteps of the wind, in a sense, metaphorically. Sorry, what else can I just get out of this? So, deeper reading. So I want to go back to the beginning. What I was saying, like, deeper reading. What does, so as soon as you get into the book, any book, anything, or anything, what does man gain by, this is the third line, alright? Minus introduction. It's like, what does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? Don't just skim over that and go, yeah, I get what he's saying. He's just, you know, because we'll make a surface level reading, but let's go for a deep one. Because what's its deepest meaning? You can see that line. Don't do it as, again, with the intent of like, or the hope that it will, because then you'll end up being disappointed of time. But don't just sort of take that surface level reading of, yeah, I get it. He's talking about, like, in his life, what does he gain from all his work? But that would imply, if we just think it's surface level, that, oh, there's no point in working. Vanity, that. No, but it's a question. So it's questioning, what does a man gain from all this toil under the sun? Maybe it's showing Solomon's thoughts. Maybe it's showing it, right. He sat down, let's get this book, let's get this done. Let's get this wisdom going. What does a man gain? He's asking questions. So it shows us that maybe we should be asking more questions. Even to the things that we might think obvious, like looking beyond what's at the moment. He's saying, yeah, a man, because, like, surface level, a man might look at this and go, oh, well, if he questions himself, maybe, like this himself, he might say, well, from my work on the farm, I gain food and crop and money, habit, lifestyle, purpose, and it's like, hang on, it's like, what's the point of not just the work, but the rewards of that work. If we just keep, going around like wind, what are these asking? Someone's actually asking though, what at the end of it all, what do we gain? What makes going round actually intrinsically valuable, actually substantially and objectively valuable? That's what he's asking. Under the sun, in the light, in that light, to him, when there was no there's no salvation through Christ, so it was like, we know that all the souls went to Sheol, some Abraham's bosom, some Hades, and so, there was always a reference to Sheol, so perhaps, we know he believes it's the same place, because he says, doesn't men all go to the same place? And so for him, it was like, what's the point of all of this? And we know that our works don't save us, so even now, what is the point? But all works do now is it can bring us closer to God. It's not because of our works, but it's His grace that we receive through doing the works. Like, people can act sort of like it's all about just faith. Yes, but what does that? What you're saying it without the understanding, and that's what I'm saying is like, yeah, faith. But what do you mean when you're saying do none of these works, even though they're what evidence the faith? They're what would prove the faith. Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commands. If you love Jesus, you'll keep his commands. And he's saying, don't judge it by a feeling. Oh yeah, I felt the Holy Spirit come upon me. No, I feel. No. He's saying, if you want to judge and measure, if you want to be secure in the knowledge that you love me, then see if you're keeping my commands. You're willfully sinning shit tons. It's like, you don't. God's words, not mine. Or at least likely you don't enough. So, yeah, I really went off track. Under the sun, sorry, I said light and then it's just waffling. But under the sun, moral life, okay? So, he's questioning it, and that justifies my position of he's questioning it from, like, okay, if we look at it from the end, the cut-off point, before death, just after life, if we look back, what do we gain? What is the objective good and value of it? So just look more into the text. Don't actually think it's such a, I believe this for so long, I just got out of it. Don't think that, well, I need knowledge fast. I need to understand these things. I need to understand things fast. I need to know things now. Right, I need to get these known. I need to get things understood. So I'm just gonna read pages. I'm not gonna dwell on too much on little details. I just need knowledge. So I'm just gonna read as much as I can. Then read like maybe 5 pages, 10 pages. But you'll gain more out of 2 pages if you pay attention to the 2 pages, in that you're deeply considering and postulating them, not just the words but the meaning, and looking up the context before, and desiring and understanding through the tools of context and such, gaining better understanding, you will gain knowledge and wisdom, and fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So therefore God says these things. Like Holy Spirit inspires many of the authors in the Bible to write these things. So if you disagree, then you call God a liar and you do not fear the Lord, because if you knew that God is the arbiter of truth and he is the only truth, then you would know that it's better to take heed to that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I don't know. But yeah, I'm recording these, I'm learning just as much while recording them and making them. So, amen.